All right, so today we're going to go over the 2020 sample FRQ that they released, and I only like about like half of it because I don't think that it's really like an actual representation of what could be on your exam, because it's really all Unit 7 kind of topics, and I don't really like that. I like Unit 7, but I don't really like that it's all Unit 7, so I kind of wrote my own FRQ that we're going to do. Always follow Think5 on all social media platforms, including TikTok, which is not included on this slide. I don't make the slides for these. Usually I like it when they have TikTok, but this one sadly does not have TikTok. So it's there. It exists. But also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, because we do all of our IG lives there. And then YouTube because, reasons that are coming in the near future. So somebody asked in the chat, why was I making cookies? So today I am teaching the cookie mining lab. I kind of like said it in the comments, and then the TikTok is at Think5able. So it's the same for everything. Besides, YouTube might like just be Fiveable. I don't know. If you look up Fiveable, you should find us. The one with like the logo that we have. So today I'm going to teach the cookie mining lab because we don't really cover mining a ton in APES, but it's definitely a contender for your FRQ. I mean, I'm not saying it will be on your exam. I'm saying there's like a 5% chance that it could be. There are a lot of things that could be on your exam. There are like 20 topics that you should definitely review a lot. But, mining is one of them, and we often gloss over it. And this is a fun way to teach, mining in APES. And then I'm going to go through some sample review questions, then Q&A. So let's get started. So this cookie mining lab is going to be a little bit weird because I'm going to try to do this on like my laptop, which is my Surface here, which is kind of going to be interesting. So I'm going to try to use the back camera for the first time ever. So let's see how this works. So if you guys can read the instructions, hopefully when I go half and half like this, whatever. So to do this, you're going to need a cookie or whatever material. I'm about to show you mine and reveal mine. You're going to need like a piece of notebook paper, graph paper, something. You're also going to need a pencil, and then preferably you can use a toothpick to mine it because then you can actually eat it afterwards. But if you don't have a toothpick next to you, you can just use a pencil, but then you just like can't eat it, or maybe just like work on one section so you can eat the rest of it. I don't know. Not my decision. That's your decision. But let's get started. So I'm going to get my little workstation set up here for a second. You guys can get everything that you need. I'll try to make these instructions a little bigger for right now while I am getting this ready. Sorry, it's going to take me a second to get this set up because I'm in my room and I don't want to like make a whole mess. Yeah, Morgan, graphite isn't poisonous, but sometimes like you have pencils and like you throw them on the ground or something, or they've been on the floor at school. Like, I don't want to eat my pencil. It's a personal preference though. So, you guys can do whatever the heck you want, but I am not. No, I am not doing that. So I'm kind of already making a mess right here. So I'm going to try to do this as best I can, but it does not seem like this is going to be such a Harrison-friendly activity. So you guys can get your stuff while I'm starting out with this. So I've also learned that I cannot draw straight lines without a ruler. So here we go. It is definitely not a neat lab. So I told you guys to get graph paper, but I'm kind of using a paper plate here. So I'm going to disappear for a second. Don't worry, guys. Don't freak out. I will be back in like 2 seconds, but I'm going to disappear so I can switch to like my back-facing camera so you guys can actually see what I'm doing here. This is taking way too long. All right. Question of the day. Harrison has reappeared. You guys can see my lovely wall. And the material that I am using for this lab is going to be a brownie with chocolate chips in it because I did not have a cookie. And, this seemed like it could work. Uh-oh. I cannot find the thing. I hate how this camera works. All right, so if you can see the instructions on the left and then my brownie on the right, we're going to try to do this here. I hate how this is opposite. Sanity is already left the building. Who is he? I don't even know. I don't even remember him. So how you do this is, I'm going to click through the instructions here. So I gave you $20. You're going to spend $5 buying the cookie, which is going to be like the land for your mining. And then you're going to spend $5 on your mining material. So that's going to be like your toothpick, anything else you find that could work. That could also be like, other random stuff, like your pencil, whatever. It seems like my slides are not cooperating right now, so this might take a second. Oh, crap. I've revealed too much. Okay. So basically what you need to do on the graph paper or on like whatever material you're using, you need to draw like a square or circle around your cookie or the, whatever you're using, the brownie with chocolate chips. So, we'll see. And then you kind of need to put it down there. So you get to mine your cookie with the toothpick or whatever other materials you have. So usually in this lab, what you're required to do is you kind of have a timer with like a minute, and you have to spend $1 of your $10 that you have left per minute mining your cookie. So basically, I'm not going to time you guys because I can't really see you anyways. So what you have to do is you kind of have to use your toothpick to kind of mine at your cookie. You kind of break away the surface just to get to the chocolate chip, which is going to be very hard since I'm holding this up as a camera. Oh, see, look, I'm already getting a chocolate chip out. And then you kind of want to put the chocolate chips in one place. And then you don't want to try to get any more of the brownie or cookie or whatever than you have to. So I'm kind of trying to be safe when I mine this. See, I've gotten the chocolate chip off, so then I kind of have to, you can't use your hands to mine. That's like the biggest rule. You have to use this toothpick, which is kind of weird because I'm doing it like backwards and this makes this exorbitantly harder. There. See, so my chocolate chips are going to go to the opposite end of the plate, the piece of graph paper, whatever. And so I see a chocolate chip like right over here. Harrison cannot do life backwards, but So you're going to want to mine. So basically, I've approximated that this is going to take us 5 minutes, so you guys are going to have $5 left. So just take a few minutes, use your toothpick or whatever to mine it. This is not working like I thought it would. This is way harder than it was when I practiced. See, I am breaking the surface on my cookie. This is how destructive mining is to the earth. See, look at this. I'm leaving tailings everywhere on this paper plate that you cannot see. There are tailings going everywhere. This is the point of this lab, is to show you how destructive and how hard mining is and how hard it is to reclaim. See, this is not going to work. So you guys can try to mine for a few minutes while I stop holding this, and I'll try to mine, and I'll show you my progress in a little bit. So, yeah. So let's see. Harrison is only mining with the toothpick, I promise. You guys can't see me, but, I promise I'm not using my hands to mine. I know some people in this stream, like Samantha, maybe Morgan, wouldn't believe me, but I promise I am not using my hands to mine. Have fun staring at my paint, by the way. Okay. So Harrison is trying to mine this. Find wherever the heck the chocolate chips are. I am destroying this brownie. So you guys can do this with me or not, whatever. Doesn't matter. I see that you guys like the flash in the chat. That's fun. I used to. Okay. So this is our progress so far. So we've kind of got tailings and, this all over the place. And then our chocolate chips are kind of like our ore when we're mining here. So, Oh my gosh. Are you guys really talking about who the actors are? That's just so nitpicky. See, like, I'm trying to mine this, but this is so hard. So, trying to teach this to you, but it's kind of not working. So, now you see I spent a few minutes mining, and I got some more, so I can sell these chocolate chips for some money and make some money back. But then I also have to go reclaim all of this land, so that's going to cost even more money. I'm lazy, so I'm not going to reclaim my land right now. Because we definitely don't have time for that, and that would take me way too long. So Harrison's going to disappear for a second and then come back. All right, Harrison is back. I know half of you guys did not want me back, cough, cough, Samantha and Morgan, but I am back. You mined 12 in 2 minutes, Tanya? Are you kidding me? Okay, so this is my progress. Oh, crap, and I have chocolate chips flying all over the place. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chocolate chips mined safely out of my cookie. So I have these 5 chocolate chips that you may or not be able to see in my hand. So you can see them kind of falling. 5 chocolate chips, and that took me 3 minutes. Okay, so this just shows how destructive mining is. So this toothpick is like my materials when I mine, this cookie is the land that I mine, and all of these extra like pieces of brownie or cookie or whatever you used, that's going to be all of your tailings that you're leaving everywhere. Now the point is to show that reclamation is going to be the hardest part of mining. Like it just is, because you kind of have to bring the land back to its former glory, I guess. It's kind of the tagline for it if you want to think about it that way. But, you know, I will eat my brownie after the stream, not to tease you guys. So this kind of just shows how destructive mining is. Like you use the materials, but then you still have tailings everywhere. The tailings are the hardest part to clean up. You get your ore, you can sell it, but, you know. I think that I have 2 members of my team here who are hating on me. So if anybody else wants to join team at all, just put something in the chat so I can kick these 2 people off my team, and then you guys can join. If you guys need a team, just hit me up in the chat right here. So basically, you kind of see that you get charged for every piece of tailing that you have outside of the little zone that you first put your brownie in or your cookie or whatever. So if you sold your chocolate chips for more money, and then you had too many tailings everywhere, you didn't make a profit when you were mining. So when you were mining, you kind of have to be careful about your reclamation and showing, like, when you propose an environmental solution on FRQs, what you got to do is you can't just say you ban something or say you require reclamation within like a week. That's not realistic solutions. So what a realistic solution could be is you have reclamation over a period of time based on how long you've mined it. But when you propose an environmental solution, it has to be realistic. You can't just say ban something. You can't just say, like, we will delete everybody off the face of the earth who does this. Like, those are not realistic solutions. They're just not. So now let's do what we came here to do and look at a sample FRQ. Wow, you guys really care about the Olympics, don't you? Let's see. Oh my gosh. This is a ton of Olympics talk that I'm not even going to read. How do we get to Minecraft and Fortnite? Oh my gosh. Okay. So now let's look at the 2020 sample FRQ number 1. So this sample FRQ is okay. I don't really love part A just because it's not, I don't love part A of this FRQ, so I kind of just skipped it because I can. So let's look at parts. Oh no, that's the other FRQ. I'm sorry. So we're going to do part A because part A is easy. Part A is going to be the identify. So we have a graph right here that's going to show the carbon cycle. So in this FRQ, we see how we can combine Unit 7 because down here in the FRQ, it's going to talk about acid rain. And we're also connecting it to Unit 6 because it's talking about fossil fuels in Part D. Then we're talking about Unit 4 because we're talking about sequestering carbon from the Earth in a geological period of time. And then we're also talking about carbon and water cycles. So we have Units 1, 4, 6, and 7 all in this FRQ. So this is kind of what your real AP exam might look like because you have a lot of different things in this FRQ. you have a lot of different units. So you kind of need to study and make sure you can make connections across units, like look at themes like sustainability, or you can look at themes like, energy transfer between Earth systems, which is what this is. That's what this theme of the FRQ is. It's different interactions between Earth systems. So does anybody want to help me answer part A, which is identify a process shown in the diagram that removes carbon from the atmosphere? Does anybody want to let me know in the chat? Does anybody know? I think that Morgan says photosynthesis, and Morgan is correct. Photosynthesis, this question was actually used on the YouTube College Board review stream, and photosynthesis was chosen by, I believe, 90% of people when I reviewed this with the teacher. Photosynthesis was the most commonly chosen. Does anybody have any other processes where carbon is removed from the atmosphere? And this question is pretty easy. You don't even have to know the carbon cycle. You just literally have to look at the arrows. You just literally have to look at the arrows. You see atmosphere, arrow to the plants with photosynthesis. Then you have atmosphere, arrow to, a different carbon sink. Does Samantha have a different carbon sink, or is Samantha talking about the Olympics more? Samantha is talking about the Olympics more. So Tanya says trees inhale carbon, hence carbon is removed. Perfect. I mean, that's a great description of photosynthesis. So from this thing, we already see that the atmosphere is a carbon sink, the ocean is a carbon sink, plants are even carbon sinks. But then we can see that the atmosphere is also a carbon source, because we see arrows coming away from it, from the atmosphere to go to photosynthesis, and then the carbon dioxide in the water. So we see that the atmosphere is a sink and a source for carbon. So for part B, for a process shown in the diagram that also plays a role in the hydrologic cycle, hydrologic is a fancy word for water, if you didn't know that. Let's describe the role that plays a process in the hydrologic cycle. So, describing a role that plays a process in the hydrologic cycle. So we talked about photosynthesis and then the ocean as a carbon sink. So does anybody have anything that could intertwine the ocean with the hydrologic water cycle, or photosynthesis with the water cycle? I can think of ways for both. So either thing you chose could be fine. But does anybody have any ideas? Yes, I am not shamelessly eating my brownie on the live stream, for those of you wondering. Let's see what Tanya says here. Repeat that? Oh, okay. Sorry. So basically, we identified two processes shown in the diagram. So you can pick either one. You can talk about how the ocean is a carbon sink, and then you can also talk about how the photosynthesis is something that removes carbon from the atmosphere. So describe how either of those processes play a role in the water cycle. So either of those processes could work. Forests? How do forests play a role in the water cycle, Tanya? Why don't you tell me more? You say that trees need water. Trees absorb water, I'm sorry. Transpiration. Perfect. I like Morgan using his vocab word of transpiration. If you want to go even further and sound even more sophisticated, you could call it evapotranspiration. Water is a nutrient that trees need. Trees need to take in sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water to do photosynthesis. What's the formula for photosynthesis? C6O2 plus 6H2O turns into glucose and oxygen. Wow, the formula for photosynthesis. That's some chemistry and biology coming in handy there in AP Environmental Science. So, you need to make sure that you know the formula for photosynthesis, because knowing that formula can help you answer this question. You can describe your answer to this question by using the formula for photosynthesis. Samantha says, you, Kim. I kind of feel the same way, because I kind of like Kim, but then I kind of don't. Tanya says she can recognize the formula but don't remember. Okay, well, if you're a little bit more like, you need a visual, you can just think about rain, plants, carbon dioxide, plants. Plants make oxygen so I can breathe. And plants make glucose so they can eat. That might be an easier way to think of it for you guys. So I think we're about to have a debate about whether chem or bio is better, and I'm going to stop you right there and just say APES is better, and we're moving on. All right. So now we have to identify a process in the diagram that sequesters carbon from the atmosphere for a geological period of time. Ooh, that's a lot. So let's look at a few things first. So we're talking about the word sequester. Can anybody tell me what sequester means? Does anybody know what sequestering carbon is? To capture, to hold. Perfect. So this is a fancy way of just restating question one. So question one says identify a process that removes carbon from the atmosphere. This one says identify a process that sequesters carbon from the atmosphere. Now, if you've ever seen that Winnie the Pooh meme where like he's sitting in the chair, but then he gets like the monocle and the black, black tie suit on, that's the difference between question A and question C. It's literally just that Winnie the Pooh meme. Removes carbon, sequesters carbon. Motion, kinematics. That's an AP physics joke for you. All right. So what does Nelson say? I can't see. Crowdcast is not helping me right now. It's making me scroll in the chat whenever you guys post something. I think that like Crowdcast is having issues today. So sorry if something doesn't work right. So does anybody actually want to help me answer question C? Does anybody know the answer to question C? All right. Tanya, does Tanya have the? Tanya might have the answer to question C. Does anybody know? Come on, this one's just to look at the diagram and give me an answer, guys. I know you can do this one. You're smarter than this. Ooh, cellular respiration. So cellular respiration is going to be something that puts carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. Because if you think about it this way, humans do cellular respiration. And humans take in oxygen and glucose. And we give out carbon dioxide and water. So it's kind of like cellular respiration is a reverse of photosynthesis. So that would put carbon back into the atmosphere. So Tanya says forests are a carbon sink. So photosynthesis is a carbon sink. Trees only sequester carbon through photosynthesis, Samantha. Oh my gosh, we keep getting so close. So Sathvika, I hope I pronounce your name right. If you put the phonetic pronunciation, I'll pronounce it right every time after this. Sathvika, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. I really hope I am. Morgan says the formation of fossil fuels. Morgan gets the gold star. All right, I'm so proud of myself for finally saying somebody's name right. So Morgan gets the gold star for finally spitting out the right answer for me. Everybody was referencing like putting carbon into the atmosphere, burning fossil fuels, but we want to be getting fossil fuels. That's what takes carbon away from the atmosphere. When we burn fossil fuels, we're putting carbon into the atmosphere. That's the whole like theme of, Unit 7, Unit 6 of APES, like we're talking about, we don't want to burn fossil fuel anymore. Samantha, you can get a gold star when you answer one of my questions right. That's how this works. All right, so D says, explain how the rate at which fossil fuels are transferred into the atmosphere shown in the diagram has altered the carbon cycle during the past 250 years. So, does anybody want to help me explain how the rate at which fossil fuels are transferred into the atmosphere as shown in the diagram has altered the carbon cycle in the past, 250 years? So while you guys are typing that out in Crowdcast in the chat, which I hope you are, Tanya asked, what was C asking? So C was asking us to identify a process that removes carbon from the atmosphere for a geological period of time, so like for a long time. So this one was mainly talking about the ocean or like the creation of fossil fuels with respiration, with, okay, we got it, that's fine. So Satvika's going to say the Industrial Revolution, and Morgan's going to say carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has increased. All right, so I like both of your answers put together. Those could make a good answer. So if you start your, Part D explanation out by saying the Industrial Revolution has caused more fossil fuels to be burned, which has increased the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, altering the carbon process, that's a perfect topic sentence for Part D. Now, with Part D, you're going to want to go a little bit more in depth, like with Ion, I think that's how I pronounce your name, Aeon. Tell me if I pronounce it right. He, she, I don't even know. I'm sorry. Today I'm not doing well. Says, we have been using fossil fuels at a rapid rate, which has sped up the carbon cycle. So Industrial Revolution has increased the rate at which CO2 has been putting CO2 into the atmosphere. The Industrial Revolution was the more burning of fossil fuels for factories. So we have more carbon in the atmosphere, and then the carbon cycle has been sped up. So Ion, you did that right. So Ion, Tanya, you guys get a gold star. I don't know where Samantha is. She wants her gold star, but she's not here in the chat. So I don't know how she's going to get it. So E says, identify an energy source in the diagram commonly used to produce electricity that also causes acid rain and describe how it causes acid rain. So now we're moving from Unit 6 into Unit 7 with acid rain. So what energy source in the diagram commonly used to produce electricity also causes acid rain? Let's just start with the first part of the question, the identify. So, Samantha says fossil fuels, and I kind of like that, but the chart doesn't say fossil fuels. The chart gives me examples of fossil fuels, but it doesn't say fossil fuels. So I think that Satvika is going to have to get the gold star when she says the coal power plants. Perfect. Morgan also says coal. But Samantha just says combustion of fossil fuels. So I don't love that again, but Satvika and Morgan have identified it right. The coal-burning power plants release a pollutant that we're going to talk about in a minute, that Morgan has already talked about, that releases chemicals into the atmosphere that cause acid rain. So, I was going to do a whoa and make a funny joke about carbon going up into the atmosphere and then coming back down, but I think I'm not going to because that would be kind of cringe. I don't know. So Tanya says an energy source is oil and gas, but the thing about natural gas, since oil and gas are grouped together in this, those are considered cleaner forms of energy. So coal burns really dirty. It has high blank content, which is a pollutant we're going to talk about later that Morgan has already referenced. But with natural gas, it's a pretty clean burning fossil fuel. So you kind of want to talk about that as what we use more in modern days for electricity, because we used to use coal a lot, but coal is really dirty to burn. So we don't try to use that as much as we can anymore. Now we try to use natural gas because it burns cleaner. So let's get into describe how it causes acid rain. So let's see. I think that Morgan already talked about this up earlier, so I'm going to read that. Oh, there he says. He says, which I've already just scrolled past again, Crowdcast is not my friend today. So he says coal burning releases sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere, and when sulfur dioxide reacts with H2O, it forms sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid is then deposed to the ground to form acid rain. Boom. Perfect describe. Describe means you need to link A to B to C to D to E to F to Z, whatever. You don't just go from A to Z. Your identify goes from A to Z. Your describe needs to tell me all the steps in between. So Morgan did that right. So Morgan now has 2 or 3 gold stars today. I don't even know. So Samantha needs to step up her game if you want a gold star. So Tanya, I'm not trying to use a bunch of your time by making you type out a ton of full answers. I love it when you guys do that, but I'm trying to get through 2 FRQs today, and that's not really going to, that's not really going to work with the time that I have to be with you guys, because I think that Crowdcast might kick me off at 3:15 today because I've had some, timing issues. Crowdcast, am I right? So we're describing, we're kind of identifying a little bit, maybe connecting if we have time, but now we're moving on to Part F. So Part F says, describe a method for reducing the cause of acid rain you described in Part E. Now, if we just had this FRQ, which is parts A through F, it could be an FRQ too, because we're proposing an environmental solution that can reduce the cause of acid rain. So the cause of acid rain that we talked about was the burning of coal in power plants, the incomplete combustion of coal. So if anybody wants to help me remediate that with a solution, that might be a good idea. So I see that Morgan has said burn natural gas instead of coal. Ion says use other energy sources. So Ion, I think that you're right. He's right. I mean, but when you're saying other energy sources, especially in APES, you want to kind of be specific. You want to talk about a specific energy source. You want to say use nuclear, use solar, use wind energy. Don't just say use other energy sources, because we learn about 11 energy sources in Unit 6, like 11 things that you need to know for the AP exam, the energy sources. So if you say use other energy sources, you have like 10 options. Just pick one. Just pick one. So Tanya gave me a full describe here, even though she didn't have to, so I'll read it. So Tanya says, one method for reducing the cause of acid rain is to limit the use of coal by transferring it to cleaner renewable energy like solar and wind. Woo! Yes. Good job, Tanya. Good job, Morgan. Ion says renewable. Perfect. Samantha says, for the record, Morgan typed it before you even asked, so I didn't have a chance. Well, you know. I mean, if you're getting these FRQs right, it's not like you guys are cheating. I mean, this is not cheating if you know what I'm going to say. I'm literally going to just go to the next part. But this stream wouldn't be as fun if this FRQ is over right now. There's still 5 more parts to this FRQ. You know, I have decided that we're going to skip part J on this FRQ because I don't like part J on this FRQ. So we're just going to do G, H, I, K, L. So we have 5 more parts to this FRQ. And yes, the AP exam probably will give you 10 to 11 parts to your FRQ. But the AP exam has said that you will not be able to finish the exam. Very few students will actually be able to answer the FRQ fully for me. The College Board is trying to prevent cheating by doing this, so you kind of want to look at the question and gauge where you can earn the most points. I would probably go through and I'd do everything that you can do in the identify sections first that you know the answer to right off the top of your head. What I would not do, I would not look at your notes during this exam. Like if you have a cheat sheet, like right here, while I'm writing my exam on this computer right here, that's fine. It's like I glance while I'm typing and I'm good enough typist to where I can like type without looking at the keyboard. That's fine. I can glance at my cheat sheet for a second, but don't stare at your notes for more than 20 seconds because technically you have 25 minutes to answer this FRQ, but these FRQs are probably going to come with a stimulus. These FRQs are going to have 10 to 11 parts. You want to use every second of those 25 minutes that you can. You know how long it took us to analyze the stimulus between parts A through D? Well, actually A through E. We spent about a minute and a half analyzing the stimulus. Then you have to go read all of the questions, and we're about to read a whole lab investigation right here. You guys don't have time to use your notes. You guys need to try to do the parts that you know, go back through. You can try to do it all in 10 minutes, Morgan, but, you know, I'm not sure if you'll be able to. All right. Morgan says, well, you see, I did 8 bio FRQs in 40 minutes last year. Okay, well, you know, whatever. Doesn't matter. I don't care. This isn't bio. This is APES. Samantha says, some of us use HyperTyper and are fast at typing. But are you using HyperBrain, where you have all the answers in your brain to where you don't have to look at your notes? That's what you need to develop. Using HyperTyper to practice typing is perfect. It's awesome. But you don't need to use HyperBrain if you have notes. You know, don't think that way. You need to have HyperBrain too. Because if you have HyperTyper, but you don't have HyperBrain, then you're not going to be able to type that fast because you don't know what you're trying to type. You know, increasing your typing speed is awesome and great, but you need to have the knowledge to use to type. Because if I'm typing this fast, I better have the knowledge to keep up with my fingers. You know, it's just kind of my recommendation. Okay, so actually, Tigist, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. If you put the phonetics in the chat, I will get it. Tanya got impatient without me asking, but yes, I do want to answer. Morgan answered your question pretty well, but you do have to answer everything in the AP exam in complete sentences. Every FRQ has to be in complete sentences. AP readers have been instructed, especially this year when there are going to be so many FRQs to read, that they're not taking responses that are not in complete sentences. So let me scroll up to where Tanya's response is to see. So Tanya has already answered parts G and H for us. And I guess she's also answered part I. But you need to answer these in complete sentences in the future, but that's fine. So, actually this might not be right. So for part G, you said the independent variable is limestone. But variable means something changing. So what's changing about the word limestone? Does somebody want to tell me what the real independent variable is in the chat? It's not the presence of limestone. That's where a lot of kids tripped up on this FRQ. It's I like the level of limestone is okay, but I'm looking for a word. So a lot of you guys are saying pH, but that's not the independent variable because I'm not changing the pH. Morgan says amount of limestone. Sathvika says amount of limestone. Perfect. Those are the exact words that I'm looking for, and those are the words that the AP rubric is looking for. You don't need to say level of limestone because you could have strong limestone or weak limestone. Limestone is just calcium carbonate, so it's like however strong that, what is that? I don't even know if that's an acid or a base. It's a base. Calcium carbonate is a base. So, you can have a strong base or a weak base, more AP Chem knowledge there, but you have to say amount of limestone. So Samantha says, is pH the dependent variable? Yes, pH is the dependent variable. So if you rearrange that, you could answer part H correctly. So now Samantha gets a gold star. Are you happy now, Samantha? You've gotten a gold star in the stream. Doesn't that just complete your life to the fullest? I think it does. All right. I'm feeling like Oprah Winfrey today, giving away gold stars to you guys. You get a gold star, you get a gold star, you get a gold star. It's like I'm giving away cars. That's how I feel in my heart. I would, but I can't afford that. So, Tanya, you do get gold stars for your control and your dependent variable. But your independent variable was not specific enough, so I can't give you a gold star for that one. But you already have some from before, so I think you'll be fine with your amount of gold stars, not your level of gold stars, not your gold star, your amount of gold stars. All right, so star rhymes with car. I love you guys. All right, so Tanya has already identified the control group in this investigation, and that would be water without limestone. So that would be water with 0 amount of limestone. So part J, if anybody already has this queued up, you can send this in the chat. I don't mind while I'm reading it. J says, describe, except we are skipping part J because I don't like part J, because part J is not a real question. Like, the answer to part J is kind of iffy because lower water temperatures don't really, change the pH of water. pH can be changed when temperature changes, but that's not, a whole relationship. So Harper is actually going to get, a silver star right now because she says part J is a prank, and I 100% agree. So I can't give you a gold star because you didn't answer the question right, but you said part J is a prank, and I like that, so you're going to get a silver star. So Harper gets the first silver star of the day. Tanya says, Vika says it's a form of clownery. So Tanya says, if we say no change, does that work? If you describe how something doesn't change, that would be fine, I guess. But I don't know how you could describe something not changing. You could just leave a blank piece of paper and say, this doesn't change, my response doesn't change. But, I don't really like that describe. So you kind of want to choose one, even if it's wrong. If you think it's wrong, it could still be right. There are 2 ways you can go with this. You can say that X, which we are saying is pH, apparently in the chat, could increase or decrease. You just have to defend your response. I love how everybody is calling the College Board a clown in the chat. Clownery. Yes, wonderful. That's why they're giving us 11 parts to this FRQ. So let's move on to part K. Part K says, describe one additional variable that has not been mentioned that could affect the results of this investigation. So if any of you guys are in AP Stats or have taken AP Stats or, know anything, does anybody know what the confounding variable in this investigation could be? Does anybody want to tell me what the confounding variable could be in this investigation? Confounding just means something that could affect the results that isn't being measured. Okay, so Tygus says weather. I like that. Samantha says she's bad at math, but what else did we already not know? Morgan is throwing Samantha some math questions about logs that she probably will not be able to answer. So you guys are asking me if I should take stats next year. My opinion is take one math class a year unless you want to be like an actuary or something when you grow up. Tanya is about to get another gold star. So a confounding variable could be the original pH of the water. In our description of the lab investigation, we didn't say that we were going to measure the original pH of the water of the acid rain. We were just going to add limestone. Wait, before the limestone is added. So, the original pH of the limestone, since we're not like subtracting or comparing anything, we don't have, a clearly defined subtraction problem in this investigation. So we have a confounding variable. It could be the pH of the acid rain originally. Oh my gosh, why are you guys talking about like different maths and sciences to take and different gold stars? Computer science counts as a math in my opinion because that's what the College Board says it is. But I have wasted 45 minutes when I was wanting to do 2 FRQs, so we're probably not going to get through everything, so you guys might just have some free time instead. So, part L says, describe a modification that could be made to the investigation that would affect these results. Does anybody have a modification that they could make to make this investigation better? Can anybody make the investigation better? Okay, amount of water tested. I like that. Anybody else have anything else? So Morgan says standardize the pH of the water at the start of an experiment. pH is equal in each tank. So Morgan and Samantha are saying the same thing. So we're kind of trying to combat our confounding variable. More control groups, different levels, more levels of, amount of calcium carbonate. More levels of the independent variable is always a modification that you can make to make it better. Yes, anybody who said the correct answer, so ... Morgan, Samantha, Tanya, Ayan, Safvika, Tigist, you guys all get gold stars for today. How wonderful. I don't see Harper answering questions. I see you making jokes, Harper, but I don't see you answering questions, so I kind of want to see that more. So I'm not going to go in depth and describe this because I want to get to the second FRQ, but you guys have been doing really well on this one, so I think we can move on. So this one is going to be a described environmental solution. I kind of tried to write this one on my own, so it might not be as good, but, we'll see. Let's go with part A first. Actually, let's read it. We're wasting our 15 minutes reading the question, guys. So it says an individual has decided to convert a grassy area on property to a large garden in order to grow food, primarily vegetables. The garden measures 50 meters in length by 7 meters in width. So part A says describe one environmental advantage of producing food locally. So while somebody is getting an answer, I'm going to get my water bottle from wherever the heck it is in my room because I am thirsty and my mouth is dry. So Tanya says less shipping costs. Okay. So can I reread question A and tell me if your answer is right? Tanya, the question says describe one environmental advantage of producing food locally. Now, is money an environmental advantage, Tanya? Oh, see, you see what I was thinking there? So let's see. So Morgan says less emissions from transportation, so less air pollution. So to make your response stronger and to actually get the point on the AP exam, Morgan, you could say less carbon dioxide emissions from vehicles when transporting food long distances. So you guys say organic and fresh, perfect. So yeah, Morgan gets a gold star, Satvika gets a gold star, Samantha gets a gold star. Just make sure you know how to describe these responses. That's the key thing. Last night in the awesome NIMSY stream that I went to with Kristen Shapiro and Matt Wells, and I was also in it a little bit, it was pretty great. You guys should go watch the replay if you haven't. They kind of went over some great FRQ actually writing tips, like especially for creating a hypothesis and stuff like that. But, one thing that they said that you guys really need to take to heart is She said that she didn't give her kids a sentence quota. Perfect. I don't love telling you guys you have to write 3 sentences for a describe, 4 sentences for an explain, etc. I'm not ever going to tell you that. I don't think any actual AP reader is going to tell you have to have a set number of sentences. What they will tell you, though, is you have to have more than 1 sentence for a describe. You're going to need to have more than 1 sentence for an explain. So it looks like I already have people answering Part B, even though I haven't even read Part B yet. So I'll stop talking and get to reading Part B. Part B says, identify one soil property that affects crop production. So Satvika says nitrogen content. Okay. Nitrogen content of what? Harper says nutrient availability. Okay. What nutrient availability? Tanya says pH level. The pH of what? Satvika says the soil, so nitrogen content of the soil. You could say that nitrogen is a nutrient that plants need. Boom. Satvika got the point. Morgan said the potassium and nitrogen content of the soil. Boom. Those are nutrients that plants need. You just have to describe how they're nutrients. Tanya says the soil property is pH level, and some plants are acid loving and some aren't. So perfect. You got the point too. Okay. So Samantha, you say soil composition. But soil composition is a broad power vocab word that we learn. That's I think that's actually the name of part of Unit 4, the Part 1 of Unit 4, soil composition. I need something a little bit more specific than soil composition if you want to get the point for this. I'm not having you guys describe all of these things, but I kind of just want a specific identify so we can talk about it a little bit. So soil composition does affect crop production because soil is what you put a crop in, and you kind of have to have a composition of the soil to have a crop. So you kind of tell me what part of the soil composition, what specific thing. Samantha, if you explain it, would I get the point on the rubric? Well, you kind of just have to tell me something a little bit more specific than soil composition. You don't have to describe it because it's an identify question, but you need to give me a pretty in-depth identify. You have to tell me that it's the nitrogen nutrient content of the soil. You could say the amount of loam in the soil. We could talk about a soil triangle, things like that. Soil texture by field test. Yep. Morgan also says the amount of organic matter. Perfect. Yeah. These are great identifies. Morgan, that's a perfect identify sentence that you wrote there. So actually, you're going to get you're going to get a platinum star, Morgan, for that. Perfect, full sentence identify response for Part B. So Morgan is the one today who has earned a platinum star. So you can have a gold record when you're an artist, but if you're the next level, you can have a platinum record. That's what Morgan has right now. I think Samantha's mad, but I have Harper over here cheering Morgan on. Samantha, no, it's not that I like Morgan more than you. It's that Morgan is giving me complete responses. Okay, I haven't even gotten to Part C, Satvika. Why are you putting Part D in the chat? All right. So let's see. So Part C, we're not to Part D yet. It's okay, though. I'll scroll up and read it later. Part C says the gardener applied a synthetic fertilizer to the garden for the next growing season. Describe one benefit of using synthetic fertilizer in the garden. And look at that. I already have a response from Tanya. What else is new? So Tanya says, this reduces the risk of eutrophication if the person lives near a pond. Nitrogen found in some fertilizers can cause algal blooms, but this can lead to a lack of oxygen when the algae dies. So, So we're talking about a benefit of using synthetic fertilizer. Synthetic fertilizer contains nitrogen and phosphorus, which are the two chemicals found in eutrophication. So I don't know if that would be a response that would get points, because that could be a consequence. That's not a benefit. That's kind of negative, I think. But you're thinking. That's good. That's good. You're thinking about the prompt. You're connecting it to different units. You're connecting it to Unit 8 and Unit 1. Unit 8 needs to be on the exam, so you're already ahead there. So you're doing fine, Tanya. Don't worry. So Morgan says synthetic fertilizer can remediate. Ooh, like that vocab word, remediate. The problems of not having enough potassium, phosphorus, and nitrogen in the soil. This can make the soil more suitable for plants to grow in. Yep, perfect. If it sends a describe, I might like to see just like a tiny bit more in depth, like not giving you a sentence quota or anything, but like maybe one more sentence in depth. But good response besides that. So Tanya says you didn't know what synthetic fertilizer is. So synthetic fertilizer is like that fertilizer that you buy from the grocery store. Most fertilizer in today's world is synthetic. The organic fertilizer is just cow poop. Cow poop is the only organic fertilizer that exists in the world. So synthetic fertilizer is just the fertilizer that you put on your plants to make them grow. All right, so now we're on to Satvika's Part D response. So I'll read the question and then read your response. So Part D says, a neighbor proposes using compost rather than a synthetic fertilizer on his garden, stating that compost is a more sustainable agricultural practice. Justify this claim. So Satvika says fertilizer could in turn deplete soil nutrients and reduce crop output. I forgot the word for it. I like your response. You're going in depth. You're trying to explain the nuance of the situation. I like it. I would just like another sentence about, what the vocab word is, because then I could definitely know that I could give you the point because you really know what you're talking about. Does anybody else have a response to Part D? Tanya, your response could have like the opposite in here. Well, actually, no, you could actually have the exact same response. So let's replace the C with the D in Tanya's response. So Tanya's response says D. This reduces the risk of eutrophication if the person lives near a pond. Nitrogen found in some fertilizers can cause algal blooms, but this can lead to a lack of oxygen when the algae dies. But then to add on to that, to make this a perfect response, you could say, compost does not contain nitrogen and phosphorus unless it is, etc. So, perfect. Yep. Morgan, since this is a justify the claim, task verb, I would usually like to see like more writing and description of what eutrophication is, but yeah, you already recognize the unit. That's perfect. It'd be like that sometimes in Crowdcast when you're typing in the chat. It really do. So, Tanya, you got your point there. Morgan, you got your point there if you write more. Samantha says composting reduces waste. That's another way to take it. You can say that compost reduces waste. We're reducing, reusing, recycling. The 3 R's, if you explain that, perfect. Samantha gets a gold star. Not platinum, but gold. All right, so Part E. A soil triangle determines that soil sample X has 40% sand, 40% silt, and 20% clay. Identify the type of soil that sample X is. Bye, Satvika. Have fun going to bio at your 3 o'clock lecture. If you want to stay for like 2 more minutes, I promise we'll be done with the questions, but you can go. Morgan says loam. Yes, Morgan is correct. Loam is the type of soil that sample X is. Loam is half sand, half silt, and then some clay. But it's usually going to have more sand and silt than clay. So Morgan gets the point here. Yeah, good luck with bio, guys. So now we've already identified the soil sample. So now we're going to look at Part F. A soil triangle determines that soil sample Y is 10% sand, 10% silt, and 80% clay. So Tanya says, do you need to memorize the soil triangle? No, the only thing that you really need to know from the soil triangle is A, how to read it if you get it as a stimulus. You can look it up and reference it on your exam if you really don't know what it is. But also, you should know that loam is 40% sand, 40% silt, and 20% clay. That's just kind of like a memorized fact that you should know for the exam in case it shows up. I'm not saying like you need to memorize what every composition of soil is, but loam is just one of those things you should know since it's like the best agricultural soil. And I kind of just gave you the answer to Part F, which is describe why soil sample X is better for farming than soil sample Y. Now, what I will not accept and what the College Board will not accept for this answer is just saying loam is the best agricultural soil. Okay, that's a great claim. Now tell me why loam is the best agricultural soil. That's what I need to know. Tell me why. So we're getting on 3 o'clock. So after this question is done, you guys will be done. You guys are free to leave the stream when you answer the question. And like I go over the responses. Okay, dot says better drainage. I don't love the word drainage. We have some APES vocab words that are kind of a little bit more specific, but Morgan has a response here typed out for me. So he says soil sample X is better for farming than soil sample Y because the amount of clay in sample Y causes the soil to be extremely compact, therefore it is harder for plants to establish roots. Perfect. And then you would just have to say at the end of that soil sample X has a good mixture of all parts of soil, so there will be enough water in enough porosity and water in the soil, and then enough places for plants to put their roots in soil. Perfect. Good response, Morgan. Just make sure you follow it up with that one part about why X is actually better. So you described why Y is not good, but you didn't get why X is better. So that's kind of something I understand, like you're typing on Crowdcast and stuff, so I get it. But unless anybody else has a response you want me to read, I'll leave it here for like 30 more seconds. But, anybody else give me any responses that you want me to read? This is going to be the end of our stream, y'all. So I've kind of gone over the response. So if you want to go and you're not typing out a response, that's fine. Thank you for coming to our stream. Have a great day. Compete in the Olympics while I read Tanya's response. So Tanya says soil X, which is loam, get identification, is the ideal soil type because it is moderately porous, allowing for water to be collected at the roots of the plant. Okay, perfect. I like your response about better. But this says why X is better than Y. So we kind of need to we've described why X is good, perfect, but we need to describe why Y is bad. So if we put together Morgan and Tanya's response, we would have a perfect 2-point earning response because we described why X is good and why Y is bad. So it's not that a comparison is needed, you need to identify that soil sample Y exists, Tanya. In your response, I didn't see the letter like soil sample Y anywhere. That's why you probably would not earn the point. Morgan did say that soil sample X is better than soil sample Y, so even though his response is weaker, it might actually earn a point. But since your response didn't even mention soil sample Y, you probably wouldn't earn the response, Tanya. But that's a pretty good response as long as you just include soil Y cannot hold water or anything like that. So great job today, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming. I'm just going to go back to the social media I'll go back to the schedule slide here just so you guys can see the weekly stream calendar. So you guys keep coming to live streams, keep studying for the AP exam, keep participating correctly, don't cheat in the Olympics. So I don't even know how many gold stars I gave away today, or I know I gave away a silver star and a platinum star. So congrats to those recipients. You can have your pride, not prize, from this live stream. And I hope you guys come back to Five Will to study, and thank you guys so much for coming. I hope you learned something today. And yeah. Have a great day, y'all. Morgan got the platinum and Harper got the silver star. Yes, thank you for the identification, Tanya. So you got the 2 points for that FRQ for identifying who got the silver star and who got the platinum star. All right, y'all. Bye. I hope to see you soon in the APES cram stream, the 5-hour